Hey there, UK viewers. This is like take 6 or 7 of this, so I'm going to try and be real quick. This is a user requested video about my opinion on where knife steels fall. I'm just going to say, before we go into this, I've not employed any scientific methods. It's just my anecdotal experience with these, so take it for what it's worth. Also, please keep in mind that for various reasons, the same steel from different manufacturers will come out different. So composition's not the end of the story. Let's do a hypothetical here. These are both in S35VN. These are both very nice knives. However, let's say, for instance, this manufacturer had an off day and their heat treat was just terrible that day. Even though it's the same steel, this one's going to be much worse than this one. Or let's say, a more real-world example, this company wants their knife to be tougher and this company wants their knife to have better edge retention. Well, this knife's going to be less brittle, but it'll dull easier, whereas this knife will be more likely to chip or break, but it will have better edge retention. So just something to note, that the steel composition isn't the end of the story. There are many factors which determine a knife steel's sort of rating. This can be corrosion resistance, if you're looking to take it somewhere wet. It can be edge retention, which is what most people are worried about. It can be toughness, if you're looking to bushcraft or brutalise it in a forest or something. There can be wear resistance, which is, how likely it is to... I think this one's got some wear on it. Yeah, you can see those marks there. That's permanent. That's where I've been shoving this through cardboard and such. That's made marks on the blade. So there's things like that. Ultimately, I'm using these knives for EDC in the UK. I'm certainly not chopping branches or expecting to survive with these things. Like, I've got survival knives at home. So I'm only going to be looking at edge retention. That's all I care about here. Corrosion resistance, toughness, not interested. I just want a knife in my pocket that I can cut a bit of cardboard with and then put away again. So that's how I'm going to be ranking this. Anyway, this video goes on forever, so let's quickly try and get this down to like a 10-minute mark, hopefully. Boom, that one is not legal to carry in the UK. It's 420 J2. It's rubbish. Don't use that on a knife. If you see something in 420 J2 or surgical stainless steel, best to just avoid it. They're really not that great. This is just a wall hanger. It's a decoration, so I'm not really. That's why I'm happy to own this. But yeah, if I was going to use that, rubbish. By the way, in case you're wondering, these two aren't legal to carry in the UK either. They're two from the beginning, so I'll try to mention that if they're not legal. Number 2 in absolute garbage steel is this. This is sort of no-name pot metal Damascus that you can buy on Amazon or any number of random online retailers. Outdoors 51 did a video on this where he was able to snap it. These just dull and roll. They're terrible. Really bad, really bad. Moving on to acceptable steels. This is sort of like your crapshoot. Welcome to your no-name steel. It doesn't even say stainless or anything on it. This doesn't necessarily mean it's terrible. This was a very cheap knife, but it takes an absolutely great edge. Let you see, proper hair-popping sharp there. I don't know if that was on camera. There you go. Let you can see it's absolutely mental. It'll last you a day. You will have to sharpen this at the end of the day. But yeah, nothing wrong with this, especially not for the price. Moving on to ones that do say something on it. There's things like this Opinel that says Inox. There's things like this Victorinox that say stainless. And this Mercury, which actually also says Inox on it. This can also be Rostfrey, things like that. They just all basically mean stainless. These 3 examples here, the Mercury, Victorinox and Opinel, are all pretty good for edge retention, considering that they just say stainless. However, they all have big respected brand names on them. If you buy, say, I don't know, a souvenir store pocket knife with your name on it or something, and it just says stainless on it, chances are it's not going to be a great steel, and it's going to be pretty easy to dull. So just keep that in mind when you're just buying things that say stainless or inox or rust free on them. Doesn't necessarily mean they're terrible, it just also something to think about. Next, so going into basic knife steels, we have German 4116 here. This is a fantastic steel to practice on. It's dulls quite quickly, but it's very, very easy to put a razor sharp edge on. This makes me feel like a superhero at sharpening this Pro Light. So definitely one to give a go. This is not legal to carry, it's got a back lock. After that we have this also back lock, not legal to carry in the UK one, Buck 110. This is made out of 420 HC. Supposedly Buck have a super crazy heat treat on their 420 HC. Can't say I've noticed. It's not bad at all, it's just fine. But yeah, it's 420 is 420, it'll, blaze it. Next we have these sort of Chinese number steels. There's things that like CRKT uses, like HCR13. This one is, what is this one? This one is 9CR18. But all stuff like that. These are generally pretty good actually. They're certainly, more towards the budget end, but they're fantastic. They'll hold their edge for, sometimes up to a week, depending on what you're doing with them. But yeah, they're certainly not to be sniffed at, as a lot of people do. Not that bad. After that, I have this CTS BD1, not to be confused with CTS BD1N, which has added nitrogen for better performance. This one here is just okay. Again, just like the HCR13, it can last you up to a week depending on what you do with it, but it's usually pretty okay. After that, I have this Sandvik steel. This is 12C27, this one, which is the lower end one, I think. You can also get 14C28N and a bunch of other ones, I think. I've only had experience with this 12C27, and it's certainly okay. It has blunted a bit after cutting some cardboard, but it does take a razor sharp edge, and it does take it very easily. So, and also it's not very expensive. So there's that. It's not bad at all as a knife steel. I also have this very much more expensive 154CM that does also need quite a lot of sharpening. This is absolutely okay. You can depend on this for a day or two's of work, but you do need to check the edge and make sure this is sharpened, because it will blunt fairly quickly. But yeah, this Xing I carried the crap out of this. I really, really love this knife. The edge on this is fairly fantastic considering the steel. Yeah, I don't know if he's done a special heat treat on that, but I have this tool steel, which is carbon steel, I guess. Sorry, this is carbon steel. This is what most people are talking about when they talk about carbon steel. It's 1095. This is Northfield's special heat treat. It's I initially didn't think this was very good, but then after sharpening it a couple of times, it seemed to get a lot better. As you can see, if you don't take care of these, like I haven't, you get this sort of like rust all over it. So it's definitely something to think about when you're using carbon steels. I also have this tool steel, which is 01 tool steel. This one I've had to sharpen a fair bit, so it's okay, but I certainly wouldn't put it in premium or high end. It's just alright, but this knife was going for more sort of like period correct materials anyway. Moving on to the sort of premium-ish steels, we have this CPM 154, which is not to be confused with 154CM. This is the powdered variant of it, I think. This one holds its edge for quite an alright amount of time. Not bad at all. Takes a very good edge as well. I'm going to choose to throw the wildly varying D2 here. D2, you can get it on super high-end knives like the Greg Medford knives, which people rant and rave about and say have fantastic edge retention. You can also get it on Chinese no-name brands, and people will say that's rubbish. So D2, just do your research on the company that you're getting it from, and just maybe don't be the first to buy it. See what other people think of that. The particular D2 from where you're buying it from first. But D2 can be fine, as long as you get it from a decent place. My next two, I'm going to lump them together because they're quite similar in my experience, are N690 here, and this one's not legal to carry, by the way. VG10. VG10 is Japanese steel, so you often find it on knives from Japan. And N690 I've seen on super high-end knives, I've seen on mid-range knives. Both of these are extremely easy to sharpen. Both of these take a really nice razor edge, and they hold them for a couple of days. It's not crazy, but you know, they'll certainly do a job for you. So I quite like both of those. N690 is probably one of my favourites, to be honest. Moving into more high end, we have this Nitro V steel, which is a modified AEBL, and this is super corrosion resistant. This also has pretty good edge retention. It is a bit of a pain in the ass to sharpen, but other than that, yeah, the Nitro V is pretty damn good. We also have the wildly popular S30V and S35VN. I had to modify this one to make it legal, in my opinion. Do your own measurements though, make your own mind up. Yeah, the S30V and S35VN are just fantastic. Difference being, I think the S35VN has very slightly higher toughness than the S30V. Be that as it may, they're both really nice all-rounder high-end steels. If all my knives for the rest of the time was this material or either of these, I'd be absolutely fine with that. So yes, not super expensive and very, very good quality. I also have the very similar performance 3G here, which is a laminated steel, and you can see that it has this line here. That's where there's another steel over the top of this harder edge steel. Don't really see how that makes sense on a such a tiny blade, but you know, sure. There you go. But yeah, the 3G performs quite adequately, very nice, not too chippy or anything like that. Holds its edge for a very long time. So yeah, the 3G is quite good. It's just fairly expensive in my opinion. Previous example notwithstanding. And the super steels I have are the, obviously, everyone's favourite M390 here. And if you just want to, there we go, M390. This thing I have absolutely carried the crap out of, abused, sent through so many boxes and things like that. And this is the original factory edge. I can see no dings. Yeah, so I mean, I've stropped this. I have stropped this a few times. It may be developing a compound edge from overstropping, but this thing's still going strong. Really, really happy with this. I also have the 20CV, which is very similar to M390. This has been an absolute mainstay in my collection, a real favourite. This one, I've carried this loads. Have sharpened this a couple of times. However, I have had this a lot longer than this one. But yes, this one just goes on and on and on and on and doesn't need sharpening. I'm really, really happy with the 20CV, at least from this company. And finally, in sort of what I put the super steels as, I would put the S90V here. And S90V is a very nice steel. It's a little bit hard to sharpen. Just like these, by the way. These are both hard to sharpen. I have other M390 knives, which is how I know how difficult that is to do, which is also why I haven't bothered with that one yet. But yes, S90V is great edge retention and just an all-round great performer. I have a couple of honourable mentions here. Both of them are actually zip slips, hilariously. So I have this one first, which is K110. The reason I didn't include this in the review is this is, I'd put this sort of in the higher end, in between premium and high end, I guess. Like, thing is, it's the only knife I've ever seen with K110, and where it's such an exotic steel, I don't think it really bears any real use. So it's more of an honourable mention, this steel. It is fantastic though. If you can get some K110, it's supposedly sort of like a harder D2. I also have, not a steel, some Teravantium. And this is, I think, cobalt rather than steel. And this is, this whole knife, in fact, is completely rust resistant. You have Terravantium here, you even have a titanium spine, all titanium screws, titanium body, so this is completely corrosion resistant, this whole knife. And Terravantium will take a good edge, and it will keep it okay, but it sort of tends to break down into more of a very, very minorly serrated sort of feeling experience. It still cuts, it's just not like, you're not cutting like a nice smooth glide through paper. It's more of a, you know, toothy edge, I guess you would say. But yeah, there you go. That is my opinion on all these steels. I hope some of you found that helpful. If not, you can be laughing at me for my terrible takes. But yes, thank you very much, and cheers for watching.